Breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. The Florida Gators have knocked off Ole Miss in Gainesville. Jackson Dart throwing an interception to Bryce Thornton in the dying seconds of the game. Dart actually threw interceptions on the final two possessions. He threw a third that was ruled incomplete after replay review. Florida, 24-17 winners. They've now knocked off two ranked teams back-to-back. They beat LSU last week, and they've done a job here against Ole Miss, 24-17. DJ Lagway, you see his numbers, 10 of 17 for 180, 2 touchdowns. He did have an interception, but for Jackson Dart, not a good finish to this one. 24 of 41, 323, the 2 touchdowns, but also the 2 picks. And by the way, Ole Miss did lose star receiver Trey Harris. He left the game in the first half with an injury. Bring you back inside our HQ studios. Jeremy St. Louis alongside Damien Harris, Mackenzie Brooks, and Danny Kanell. So let's start first with reaction here. Florida Gators get it done versus Ole Miss in Gainesville.
And I know we're going to sit here and talk about Ole Miss, and we're going to talk about how they're not in the playoff and how Jackson Dart threw 2 interceptions at the end of the game. What we need to be talking about is Billy Napier and the turnaround project that he has had at Florida. The fact that he got the school behind him. His players never abandoned him. They kept playing hard every single game. They kept improving to where now you're in a situation where you win 2 ranked games in a row. Like, you have nothing but excitement going into the rest of this season, going into next year. I mean, huge kudos to Billy Napier, because we all talked about this. It wasn't about if, it was about when Billy Napier got fired. Well, that did not happen. His team has showed up week in and week out, and even in the games that they've lost, they've been competitive. They have been scrapping all season long. So I got to tip my hat to the Florida Gators.
And Danny, boy, next week, Florida State.
Hey, Florida State's about big right now against Charleston Southern. They may be back, but I echo what Damien says. After the first 2 games, they got beat at home by Miami 41-17, and they got beat by A&M 33-20. And all of a sudden, it was everyone, even Florida fans were like, how much is the buyout? What do we have to write the checks? And there's a very real possibility that things could have come off the rails completely, and you're staring a 3-9 season in the face. But this is why I tell people, don't look at the wins and losses, look at the response of the team. Is the team still invested in the head coach and his philosophy? And the Florida Gators never gave up on Billy Napier, the players in that locker room, which mattered the most. And even still, after the loss to Texas, remember, the Texas game was not pretty, but that was out DJ Lagway. They could have thrown a towel in again, but they come back home. They beat LSU. They beat Ole Miss. It really is a great story of sticking behind somebody instead of panicking, because it could have been easy for Scott Strickland, the Florida athletic director, to say, you know what, we're going to start looking at other options. His job isn't safe. But he gave him that endorsement fully knowing, I think, that the players liked, loved, and wanted to play for Billy Napier.
And they improved to 6-5, which now means they're also bowl eligible. So on the other side of this, though, because that's pretty much it for Florida, bowl eligible, that's as far as they're going to go this year. But Mackenzie, for Ole Miss, how devastating is this for them in terms of the college football playoff?
It's pretty devastating, because now you're completely behind Tennessee. Right now you are completely that 5th SEC team, which isn't necessarily going to make the college football playoff. I hate to call anything completely eliminated because of the chaos we've seen. I'd say it's probably well under a 25% chance that Ole Miss were to make the playoff. But if I am Indiana right now, I mean, I am writing out thank you cards to Ole Miss for that loss, because that 50% chance of Indiana to make the playoff with a blowout now looks more like a 70-75% chance, because like I said, the 50% chance for them to make the playoff relied on Ole Miss or Tennessee not winning out. And here we are, basically freeing up, you know, at least a portion of a playoff spot for this team. So huge for Indiana to see this Ole Miss L. And
we talked about this at break. It's huge for Miami too, because now this win that they had in Gainesville looks a lot more impressive now. So
when you're beating a middle tier SEC team that's competing with the top of the SEC, and Miami has blown them out, that is a huge great look for the ACC in general.
And one of the things the committee looks at when they say they'll use the term either top 25 wins, but they also look at teams over 500, bowl eligible teams. Like, and if Florida does win, which we'll see, it's going to be a tough challenge for them to go to Tallahassee. But if they do win and they finish 7-5, like that's a pretty, all of a sudden that win looks better for everyone that they faced and lost to. Even Georgia, I mean, everybody that's played them, it looks better.
Okay, so we saw BYU tumble last week. 6-14 is where they went. How far does Ole Miss tumble? Do they tumble right out
of the playoff picture, Danny. What do you think?
Yes, I think they do. I think they go back to like the 3-loss team. South Carolina was at 18. Missouri was somehow still ranked. I think that's maybe bump out Missouri.
We don't have room for them anymore.
Ole Miss in that spot. But they did beat Georgia. Like they do have a nice win. Like so they'll be in that probably 15 to 18 range, which is clearly outside of the playoff picture, but it's still a pretty good season. But this is a program, remember, they went pretty hard in the portal, and the expectation with their schedule, which was manageable, was supposed to be this was the year that Ole Miss was going to accomplish something special. For them to miss the playoffs is a pretty big disappointment.
Especially after Lane Kiffin finally got that top 10 win, too.
Yeah.
Especially after that. Like, even I was a believer. I thought, okay, Ole Miss has started to figure it out. They've got the offensive capability. They got the quarterback. They got the playmakers. Kiffin has finally figured out how to beat that big-name opponent, that big-name coach. So here they go. Like, watch them catch some steam. Well, it sputtered out. Here we are.
Yeah, and now they're that spot where Tennessee was when we were looking at. They were kind of that bubble team as well, and now you're just simply out of the driver's seat. Now you could see Notre Dame potentially lose. You could see Texas maybe lose 2 games.
Right.
Who knows? So there are ways this could happen, certainly out of your control. You could see the Big 12 eat itself. Maybe we don't even need a Big 12 team. Things like that could work outside of their control. It could end up benefiting them the same way that this loss benefited in Indiana.
Good news is they have Mississippi State. Well, I think it's good news. Mississippi State to finish the season 2-8.
You
never know. You never know. But I guess that's the silver lining is they're going to get the chance to bounce back. So now the control truly is not in their hands anymore, Kenzie.
No, not at all. I mean, I've always said it all year, you really are in an SEC playoff yourself, just the SEC. You want to be a top 4 SEC team. We're pretty sure odds makers are going to put at least 4 teams in. So if you're in that top 4, you are in the driver's seat. If you're that 5th spot, I can't say you're completely out yet. You have to rely on other teams losing. Maybe we only get 1 ACC team. Maybe we get no Notre Dame. Maybe we only get 3 Big Ten teams if we see Penn State go down today. Who knows? So just looking for other things to happen.
A big loss for Ole Miss as they go down to the Florida Gators in Gainesville. As mentioned, 2 ranked wins in a row for Florida as Billy Napier really has started to turn that program around. And next week they finish against Danny Kanell's Florida State Seminoles. Ole Miss in the red zone today, not very good. Red zone drives, they only had 3. Turnover on downs and missed a field goal. And that is why they were only able to put up 17 points as they go down to the Gators. We'll see when the new rankings come out how it affects them in terms of the college football playoff.